Top 10 Most Expensive Paintings in the World. Imagine owning a piece of history, a masterpiece so profound, so coveted, that its value soars into the hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars. We're not talking about a fancy car or a luxury mansion, we're talking about art. In a world where beauty meets extreme wealth, some artworks have transcended their artistic value to become legendary symbols of status, power, and human genius. But what makes a painting worth more than a small country's GDP? Is it the artist's fame, its historical significance, or simply the whims of the ultra-rich? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating, often secret, world of the most expensive artworks ever sold. Prepare to be amazed, bewildered, and maybe a little bit jealous. This is the top 10 most expensive art in the world. Before we unveil our list, a quick but crucial note. Compiling the most expensive art list is incredibly tricky. Many of the highest value transactions happen in private sales, with prices often undisclosed and buyer identities fiercely protected. Auction records are public, but private deals can be far higher. Also, values fluctuate with inflation, and what was most expensive a decade ago might be surpassed tomorrow. This list is based on publicly known and widely reported sales, both auction and private, up to the current date. So, while Salvator Mundi holds the top spot for now, remember the art market is always shifting, and the stories behind these sales are often as captivating as the art itself. Kicking off our list at number 10, we have a unique entry, a pair of magnificent pendant portraits by the Dutch master Rembrandt Harmenzoon van Rijn. These aren't just one painting, but two, Maarten Soelmans and Upjan Koppert. Sold in 2016 for a staggering $180 million, this was a joint acquisition by two of the world's most prestigious museums, the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam and the Louvre in Paris. They famously rotate where these masterpieces are displayed. Painted in 1634 when Rembrandt was just 28, these full-length portraits were created in Amsterdam, a bustling center of trade and art. Maarten and Upjan were a newlywed, wealthy couple, and commissioning a full-length portrait by a rising star like Rembrandt was a grand statement of their status. What's fascinating is how these two independent canvases were designed to be displayed together, facing each other. For centuries, they remained in the private collection of the Rothschild family, a testament to their enduring value. When the family decided to sell, the French and Dutch governments stepped in with an unprecedented joint purchase, driven by a desire to keep these national treasures accessible to the public, preventing them from disappearing into a single private collection. It was a diplomatic triumph for art, demonstrating how cultural heritage can transcend borders. At number 9, we enter the realm of abstract expressionism with Mark Rothko's number 6 Violet, Green and Red. This monumental work, sold privately in 2014 for an estimated $186 million, might appear to some as just blocks of color. Born Marcus Rothkowitz in Russia, he emigrated to the US and became a leading figure in the New York School. This painting was created in New York City in 1951, a period where Rothko was refining his iconic multiform style, moving away from earlier, more surrealist influences. Rothko, famously, was not interested in expressing himself, but rather universal human emotions through pure color. He believed his color-filled paintings could evoke profound feelings from joy and ecstasy to tragedy and despair purely through the interaction of color and light. Artists like Rothko sold their art to sustain their careers and, in this period, to establish the burgeoning abstract expressionist movement in a post-war world. Number 6 was acquired by Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev from art dealer Yves Bouvier, though the sale later became central to a major legal dispute regarding alleged fraud in the art market, adding a layer of scandal to its already impressive price tag. Such private sales often involve ultra-wealthy individuals seeking prestige, a secure investment, and the unique emotional experience only a masterpiece can provide. Coming in at number 8 is a pop art icon, Roy Lichtenstein's masterpiece. Sold privately for around $165 million in 2017, this painting is quintessential Lichtenstein. Born in New York City, Lichtenstein, after experimenting with abstract expressionism, found his voice in pop art in the early 1960s. This piece was created in New York City in 1962, a pivotal year where he developed his signature style, directly inspired by comic strips and advertisements. Lichtenstein famously sought to elevate low art, like comics, into high art. He used bend-aid dots, bold outlines, and primary colors to mimic mass-produced printing techniques, blurring the lines between art and consumer culture. Artists like Lichtenstein sold their work to the emerging art market of the 1960s, driven by collectors keen on the avant-garde. Masterpiece was acquired by hedge fund billionaire Stephen Cohen, a renowned art collector who has invested heavily in post-war and contemporary art. For buyers like Cohen, these works are not just aesthetic pleasures but also significant assets and status symbols, representing a shrewd investment in cultural history that can provide immense returns. Lichtenstein himself, by ironically naming his piece masterpiece, was perhaps prescient about its future value. Number 7 takes us to early 20th century Paris with Amedeo Modigliani's New Couch, or Reclining Nude. This stunning work fetched $170.4 million at auction in 2015 at Christie's, New York City. Born in Livorno, Italy, Modigliani moved to Paris in 1906, where he became known for his distinctive portraits and nudes, often living a bohemian, impoverished life. This particular New Couch was painted between 1917 and 1918, a period when Modigliani, despite his personal struggles with illness and poverty, created some of his most iconic and sensuous nudes. He famously struggled to sell his work during his lifetime, and his first and only solo exhibition in Paris in 1917 was shut down by the police due to the indecency of his nudes. The artist sold his works for very little during his lifetime, relying on dealers and patrons to barely get by. This New Couch was acquired by Chinese billionaire Li Yiqian and his wife Wang Wei for their private museum, the Long Museum in Shanghai. Their acquisition of such a controversial and expensive piece highlights China's growing influence in the global art market and the desire to build world-class art institutions with iconic Western masterpieces. At number 6, it's no surprise to find a name synonymous with modern art: Pablo Picasso. His Les Femmes d'Alger Versionneau commanded a stunning $179.4 million at auction in 2015, also at Christie's, New York City. Born in Malaga, Spain, Picasso was a child prodigy who co-founded Cubism and developed a vast range of styles throughout his prolific career. This specific painting, Versionneau, was created in Cannes, France, in 1955, as part of a series. This is the final and most celebrated work in a series of 15 paintings Picasso created between 1954 and 1955, inspired by Eugène Delacroix's 1834 painting of the same name. Picasso's version is a dazzling display of his Cubist mastery, capturing the women from multiple angles simultaneously. He sold his works to influential dealers like Daniel Henry Kahnweiler, who helped establish the Cubist movement. This Les Femmes d'Alger had been in the legendary collection of Victor and Sally Gans since 1956. The anonymous buyer at the 2015 auction was later reported to be former Qatari Prime Minister Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani. The acquisition of such a seminal piece by a figure of immense wealth and influence highlights the desire for iconic, museum-quality works that embody art historical significance and a bold, revolutionary spirit. Breaking the $200 million mark at number 5 is Jackson Pollock's number 17A, sold privately for around $200 million in 2015. Born in Wyoming, Pollock became an icon of American abstract expressionism. This particular piece was created in Springs, New York, in 1948, in his barn-turned studio, a crucial period when he developed his revolutionary drip technique. Instead of using brushes, Pollock famously dripped, poured, and flung paint onto a canvas laid on the floor. This method, often referred to as action painting, was a physical, almost choreographed act, creating incredibly intricate and energetic patterns. Pollock, despite his fame, often struggled with personal demons and financial stability. He sold his art through galleries, often for prices that, by today's standards, were modest. Number 17A was acquired by billionaire hedge fund manager Kenneth C. Griffin, who also purchased Willem de Kooning's interchange in the same private transaction. Griffin is known for his extensive and significant collection of post-war American art. For collectors of his caliber, these purchases are not just about aesthetics. They are strategic acquisitions of art historical pillars, embodying periods of immense artistic innovation, destined for long-term value and sometimes even public display through loans to museums. At number 4, we journey to the lush landscapes of Tahiti with Paul Gauguin's Nafia Fai Poipo, or When Will You Marry? This captivating work sold privately in 2014 for an estimated $210 million. Gauguin, a leading post-impressionist, famously abandoned his family and moved to Tahiti in 1891, seeking a more primitive and authentic way of life, disillusioned with European society. This painting was created in 1892, during his transformative first trip to the island. Gauguin's time in Tahiti profoundly influenced his style, characterized by bold outlines, flat areas of color, and symbolic imagery. He often exchanged or sold his Tahitian paintings to fellow artists, dealers, or a few patrons to support his life there, often struggling financially despite his innovative work. This painting had been in the private collection of Rudolf Steckelin, a Swiss art collector, for over 50 years. The buyer was later identified as a member of the Qatari royal family, specifically Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani, the same reported buyer of the Picasso. Though the transaction specifics remain private, the Qatari royal family has been aggressively building a world-class art collection for new museums in Doha, demonstrating a strategic effort to establish Qatar as a global cultural hub, and acquiring a masterpiece like this Gauguin is a significant step towards that goal. Cracking the top 3, we have one of the most iconic works by the father of modern art himself, Paul Cézanne. His version of the Card Players was sold privately in 2011 for an astonishing $250 million, also to the state of Qatar. Born in Aix-en-Provence, France, Cézanne dedicated his life to art, often working in isolation, meticulously studying nature. This particular painting was created between 1890 and 1892, towards the end of his life, in his beloved Provence. This is one of 5 works in Cézanne's renowned series depicting local peasants deeply absorbed in a game of cards. Cézanne's genius lies in his ability to deconstruct and reassemble the visual world, reducing objects to their geometric forms while maintaining a sense of monumental dignity. He often struggled for recognition and sold his work slowly, sometimes for modest sums, largely supported by his family's wealth. This particular version of the Card Players was acquired by the Qatari royal family from the private collection of Greek shipping magnate George Mbirikos. The reasons for selling such an important piece from a long-held family collection can be varied: estate planning, a desire for liquidity, or perhaps simply an irresistible offer. For Qatar, it was another strategic acquisition to bolster its burgeoning cultural institutions, aiming to establish a globally recognized art presence by acquiring cornerstones of art history. At number 2, we return to the giants of abstract expressionism with Willem de Kooning's Interchange. This powerful work sold privately in 2015 for an incredible $300 million. Born in Rotterdam, Netherlands, de Kooning immigrated to the US in 1926 and became a central figure in the New York School. This painting was created in New York City in 1955, a pivotal period where his work transitioned from more explicit figuration to pure abstraction. Interchange is a seminal piece in de Kooning's career, showcasing his energetic, slashing brush strokes and a swirling vortex of vibrant colors. Like many abstract expressionists, de Kooning faced initial resistance, but he eventually achieved critical and commercial success, selling his works through galleries like Sydney Janis Gallery. This masterpiece was sold by the David Geffen Foundation to billionaire hedge fund manager Kenneth C. Griffin, who also acquired Pollock's number 17A in the same transaction. Geffen, a music mogul and philanthropist, sold the two paintings as part of a strategic portfolio adjustment. Griffin's acquisition highlights a trend among ultra-wealthy individuals to not only collect, but to amass significant themed collections of art. He is known for building one of the most important private collections of post-war American art, often lending pieces to major museums, ensuring public access to these privately held treasures. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the undisputed king of the art market, holding the record for the most expensive artwork ever sold, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. This captivating depiction of Christ as savior of the world fetched an astronomical $450.3 million at auction in 2017 at Christie's, New York City. Born in Vinci, Italy, Leonardo was the quintessential Renaissance man. This masterpiece was painted around 1500, likely in Florence or Milan, during a period of immense artistic output and innovation for Leonardo. Its history is as dramatic as its price. It was once owned by King Charles I of England, then disappeared for centuries, resurfacing in a private collection in the 20th century, misidentified as a copy. It was acquired for a mere $45 in 2005 at a regional auction, then painstakingly restored and rigorously authenticated by leading Leonardo scholars. The artist sold his works to powerful patrons like the Duke of Milan or the French king, for whom he eventually worked. The painting's sale was a public auction spectacle, with a bidding war lasting nearly 20 minutes. The buyer was initially anonymous but later revealed to be Prince Badr bin Abdullah bin Mohammed bin Farhan Al Saud, acting on behalf of the Saudi Ministry of Culture and Tourism, intended for display at the Louvre, Abu Dhabi. This acquisition wasn't just about owning a masterpiece. It was a strategic move by a nation aiming to establish itself as a global cultural and tourism destination, demonstrating the immense soft power and prestige that owning such an iconic piece of history can bring. So there you have it, a glimpse into the dizzying heights of the global art market, and the fascinating stories behind the artists, their creations, and the often secretive world of their buyers. We've seen how works travel through centuries, from royal collections to dusty attics, only to re-emerge as record breakers. We've explored how artists, whether struggling or celebrated, produce works that would one day command unimaginable sums. These sales are driven by a complex interplay of factors: the artist's undeniable genius, the artwork's historical significance, its rarity, and the ever-growing appetite of ultra-wealthy collectors, sovereign funds, and museums. For these buyers, art isn't just an aesthetic pleasure. It's a powerful investment, a symbol of status, and increasingly, a tool for cultural diplomacy and nation-building. The stories behind these billion-dollar brushstrokes are a testament to the enduring power of art to captivate, inspire, and profoundly impact the world, far beyond the canvas itself. What do you think of this list? Were you surprised by any of the artists or prices? Do you believe art is truly worth these staggering sums? And what do these transactions tell us about the world we live in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from your perspectives. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world's most expensive art, please hit that like button, share this video with a fellow art enthusiast, and subscribe for more fascinating journeys into culture, history, and beyond. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.